My name is Anthony Verdoni, and I'm going to be the moderator today, so I'll try to bring things together. We have a very good panel. We have some excellent wines, great discovery wines, I think, for most of us. And I just wanted to talk about how important this day is. I think this is the first or second day of the Year of the Monkey, 2918. It's Carnevale. It's also Mardi Gras. Carnevale means farewell to meat. So this is the Fat Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, when we all lose weight and make promises, but never really happens. 12:15 this morning, I found out that Bernie Sanders was leading 17-9 in New Hampshire. So there's a New Hampshire primary today. And the Broncos are having their big parade in Denver. And today we find out if our TV show gets any Emmys or Emmy nominations. I'm part of a TV show called Eat, Drink, Italy. It's a great sacrifice I make for everyone going to Italy, eating and drinking and speaking about wines. We had 3 Emmy nominations for season 1, so we praised the Emmy people. We didn't win anything, so we condemned them. We said that they were all crooked. And we got nothing for season 2. So we continue to condemn them, but today we'll find out if we receive any nominations for season 3. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I like to keep it lively, let it go along. I do want to say a couple of things about the South, and then I'll introduce the members of the panel, and they can tell you something about their wineries, and then we have 9 very nice wines to taste. Okay. First of all, there is a South in Italy. There's a cultural union in Italy called the South. They call it the Mezzogiorno, which means the midday sun. It's a hot area. But if you've ever been there, you realize it's really not terribly hot. It can get hot, terribly hot from time to time in locations. But usually sea breezes and altitude make it a perfect climate for viticulture. Wines have been made in this area of the South since before the Greeks, actually, but at any rate, we usually start with the Greeks around 8th century before Christ. So there's a great tradition. When the Greeks came to this area, they called southern Italy Enotriatellus, the land of wine. Okay? So they weren't referring to Italy on the whole, but to southern Italy, where they had many colonies. All right? So it's a geographic area consisting of several regions. You have Campania, Basilicata, Puglia, Calabria, and then you have the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. And they're very different from each other. It's sort of a mosaic. And we'll speak about some of those differences as we get on to taste the wines. It's a geopolitical area as well, because the South did not really benefit much immediately from the Risorgimento in the 1860s, even though it started in Sicily. Many people from the South who had been subjugated largely by the Spanish had to emigrate, and one of those great emigrations was here to the United States. Many of us, me personally, for example, are descendants from people of the South. And these people set up little Italies and helped to spread basic Italian culture. They also went to Argentina and Canada. Those were the 3 major. And they made wine contributions in each of those societies, all 3, United States, Canada, and Argentina. And we're very proud of that. The South considered to be agrarian, and for some reason, even though we have to eat and drink to live, they consider it backward. Like you're more advanced if you're industrial or if you're technological. But southern Italy's come a long way. There's been a transition. I used to work with Mr. Rollo's parents, and we marketed wines like Segesta, which had a Grolsch cap on it. And it was very good wine. That's what the market was looking for at the time. And then a Moscato-based wine called Bellagio, which was extremely popular. But now there's been a transition to really fine wines and the new generation of people there. Okay, so we spoke about the emigrations. We spoke about geopolitical order. If you ever want to treat yourself, go to Caserta. Caserta was the capital of the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. There's a beautiful palace, the Regia, in Caserta, not far from Naples, a short, furious train ride from Naples. It rivals Versailles in beauty. It's really quite a lovely place, okay? So unless anyone has any questions, I'll make one final comment and then introduce the panel, and we'll see if we can get along, and maybe you can start to pour the white wines. We're gonna pour the wines fresh. So I'd like to thank Robin and his crew for pouring the wines, and also Tom for putting the notes together. Tom Highland did a great job putting the notes together. And I hope I do a good job, because I'd like to dedicate this seminar to the memory of Giacomo Takis, who passed away just a couple of days ago. If there's one giant, or more than one giant, but the biggest giant is Giacomo Takis. I didn't realize he was 82. I thought he was older, because he always had this imposing kind of a personality, very gentle, very kind, but important. You felt the importance of the person. In '68, when Sassicaia became commercialized, he was only in his 30s. See, back in those days when I knew him, I thought he was really in his 50s. You know, he had that gravitas about him. But we should remember him, and we remember him in the South because he worked very closely in Sardinia with Argiolas, which is a very fine company, and he helped to create Touriga, which is a collectible wine from Sardinia. Even though we don't have any wines from Sardinia and a couple of the other regions, I'll speak briefly about those as we go along. So what I'll do is I'll introduce each member of the panel and three illustrious gentlemen. Antonio Rallo.
Okay, thank you to the Italian Trade Commission to invite me today. Thank you all of you for coming to this presentation. So Donna Fugata is based in Sicily. We are in the south of Italy, right in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, in the west part of the island. It's a family business, and our family is making wine since 1851. And today, my sister and I, we represent the 5th generation of the family. Donna Fugata is linked to the story of the Queen Maria Carolina, so we go back in the 19th century, back in 1820, when the Queen flew away from Naples because of the arrival of the Napoleon, the French troop, in the capital of the Kingdom of the Two Sicily. So she went to Palermo, that was a sort of second capital in Sicily. And in 1821, because of revolution, once again she had to move, and she moved to the palace of the family that owns the estate that we bought, that actually is we show in the label of our Milanotte wine. So based in the west part of Sicily, we got an estate in Contessantellina, it's half an hour from Palermo. We got the old family winery in Marsala, and an estate in the small island of Pantelleria. In Contessantellina, we grow about 700 acres. We are on the hill from 600 to 2,000 feet. So pretty rich in clay, the soil. That's really important for the character of the Donna Fugata white and red coming from this estate. Rainfall is increasing in the last 10 years. So we are not going where most of the people were thinking. So Sicily is not going to be a desert, but probably we will have a better climate for our vineyards. We are focused on Sicilian varieties a lot, as Anzonia, Cadarato, Garganico Grillo, Nero d'Avola for the reds, but we got as well some international grapes variety. Most of our vineyards are Cordons Pur, but for some varieties we need the Guyot. Yield per hectare in Sicily is very low due to the fact that it's not raining a lot and the summer is absolutely dry. Most of the time between the middle of May and the middle of September it's 100% dry. That's fantastic, of course, for the quality of the grape, but it's not helping us with the yield. We are pretty famous because we are harvesting the Chardonnay during the night. In August, second week, it's pretty warm in Sicily. Temperature is around 90 Fahrenheit most of the times, but thanks to the fact that we are inland, the temperature drops down to 60, 64. We appreciate harvesting during the night because for people, this harvesting is much better. We do 100% manual harvest. The flavors and as well, of course, is more sustainable because we are not using a lot of energy to cool down the grape. Pantelleria is a small little volcanic island, very small. It's only 40 miles from Africa and 65 from Sicily. Actually, when we got earthquake, when the tectonic platform, Africa and Europe are moving, Pantelleria is moving with Africa. But thank God it's part of Italy today. And we are growing there Zibibo grape only. And it's a really incredible place, full of energy. You can harvest Zibibo from the first week in August till the last week in September. So pretty long day, just one variety, because the vineyards are from the sea level up to more than 1,500 feet. Different exposure. We got vineyards like Martingana that's facing Libya, and other that are facing Sicily, so north. Small terrace. It's really hard work because that's a lot of hand work. All the vines are planted in basin, so we got really low bashy vine in Pantelleria because of the wind. Actually, Pantelleria comes from Pan El Rie, and Pan El Rie means in the Arab language the island of the wind. Pantelleria was under the Arab domination for more than 300 years, and it's thanks to the Arab that today we got the Zibibo grape, because they were using for the production of dry grapes, and then when we got back the island, first with the Normans, then with the Spanish, we start making wine with it. Marsala winery was built in 1851. We were producing Marsala in the past, and our friend Anthony was selling quite a lot of it in the past with our former importer Banfi. Today we are focusing on red and white wine and dessert wine that we are making in Pantelleria. We got a nice underground cellar that was built in 2007 that give us the chance to be more sustainable because temperature is probably naturally set all the year through, as well as humidity. We are very focusing on environment. You know, families are always taking care about the soil, are always taking much care about the environment because they think about the next generation. And we are not using in Donna Fugata herbicide, no chemical fertilizer, so we really try to do the best for our soil, and as well we are pretty focusing on biodiversity. We got a couple of vineyards where we got all the different biotype of the Sicilian variety. We got more than 30 different clones of Zibibo that we are collecting. We got more than 50 Sicilian varieties. So today we know just maybe 10 different varieties from Sicily, but there are a lot that were almost disappear, and thanks to the Sicilian producer that really focused on research and made together some investment that we will have probably something new from the past in the next few years to drink. We are as well measuring the carbon oxide emission, try to reduce every year the use of course, of more energy for the process, and we are producing about 40% of the energy using a solar panel. As a matter of fact, today we need to work hard as well in the communication activities. Actually, as a family members are more in winemaking and some other activities, and my sister is more in communication. But as I will show you, luckily or unfortunately, I really don't understand. I'm being more and more involved in promotional activities. Every year we got more than 10,000 people visiting us, tasting wines, spending at least 1 hour and a half, having a nice experience in Donna Fugata, cellar in Marsala, in Pantelleria, in Contessa Entellina. We got some good ratings from the major review. We try to connect with all the influencers in the United States, in the world, and we are taking a lot of care about social media in these days. So last year we doubled the funds in Facebook and engaged influencers through Twitter. 50% of our followers are from the States. About the labels, so my mother and our friend Stefano Vitale are designing all the labels, and it's been very competitive for me to make a good wine as the labels are. But of course, it's not so easy. Marketing, thinking about marketing, having all these different labels, but it's the way we like to sell our wine. Approach to the US market is the biggest market in the world. It's 13% of the wine is drunk by US consumer. In terms of sales, if we think about retail price, it's a 54 billion business, so huge, 330 million standard cases, and more than 24 brands. So it's a very competitive market, very difficult for a small producer. And if you are a family business and you are looking for long period strategy, you really need to work with another family as importer. And thanks God we met Michael Moldavi, and we are working with Folio as a sole US importer in the States. So being a family, we got the same focus and we think the same way. How to build our business here in the States. Folio is representing lots of very good wines, the Marchesi Frescobaldi, Ornellaia, Giacosa, Dal Forno, Macedo. So some are really of the best Italian wine. The strategy is try to develop sustainable sales, and of course they are focusing on each brand, try to make the best for all the different wineries. The distribution is very complicated for us Italian to understand, but this is how it works in the States. So we got a sole importer, but then we got lots of different distributors. And even if we got consolidation anyway, there are so many warehouses in the States, it's so complicated really for a small winery. Some of the best restaurants in the United States for us around the States. And some of the results that Donna Fugata done in the last 5 years with the top, with our high-end wine, so we are doing pretty well. In the last few years, we've been introducing 9 wines. The last 3 is Ligea, dry wines from Zivibo grape, made in Pantelleria, Sur Grillo. and Nero d'Alba Sherazade that is coming in the next few months. So Grillo and Nero d'Alba are really the focus of Sicily today, and you will drink more and more of these two wines. But of course, being small in Sicily, even the bigger producer of Sicily is so small compared to the big California producer. We built up an association and then a consortium that put together more than 3,000 growers and more than 90 wineries. That's Consorzio DOC Sicilia that I'm lucky to represent and to be the president. We are trying to help each other in making research, so trying to select the best of the Sicilian varieties, try not to lose the old varieties that were almost disappeared, and as well to promote our wine all over the world. As a matter of fact, we focus on USA. We start our campaign in 2015, and we love to start from USA. It's the biggest market in the world and one of the most important markets for the Italian wines. And we decide to focus together with the agency that is working with us in the States, current PR and social media agency, on millennials first of all. Millennials are very interested in wine, much more than any other generation. They may spend a little bit less than boomers, but they consume more. And they like really to enjoy wine whenever. They are not used to drink it just in a special occasion. They like to discover new wines. They like to discover new brands. That's perfect for us, Sicilian wine producer. They love social media. They love to discover something new through the social media. And we found that 80% of the millennials have attended at least 3 events, food and wine, in the last year. So they are very interested in food and wine. That's something that we really appreciate. They spend a lot of time internet and social networking. That's why we are investing a lot of our budget on social media and web. And as well, they are happy to spend even more than others sometimes, the so-called YOLO, so you only live once, so spend the money today because tomorrow we don't know where we're gonna be. And yeah, so we really got the perfect match between Sicilian wines and millennials. We are trying to elevate Sicilia DOC. We are trying to do all our best efforts to educate people about Sicilian wine, to engage directly with the brand right advocates. And last year we were happy to be on television, to be on the best magazine, and as well engage a lot of people on the social media. This year we are launching our Instagram, and I'm sure that we're going to be more than happy. And my friend Paolo from Pantelleria is thanking you and is hoping to see you in the small island as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. It was very informative. And without further ado, I'll introduce Salvatore Lento. And Salvatore speaks Italian, and Marco will help to translate what he says. And I've asked them to speak a little more briefly so that we can get into the wines as soon as possible.
So we have the importer coming and translate.
The importer is coming.
Yeah.
Where is the importer?
Okay.
Would you like to translate? Please come up.
Not because I don't want to do that.
And yes, and Salvatore can speak from his seat, or he can come up.
Okay,
here.
maybe you can sit.
My name is Salvatore Lento. My English finish. Yeah. La mia famiglia ha legato il suo nome al vino e alla storia della DOC Lamezia, dedicandosi all'attività vinicola con amore e passione, impegno che si rinnova da ben 4 generazioni.
Lento family has tied its name and history to the appellation of DOC Lamezia, dedicating its total activity with love and passion, pledges that have stood for over 4 generations.
Con l'ambizione di portare avanti un impegno delle generazioni che mi avevano preceduto, nel 1963 ho fatto il mio ingresso in azienda con l'intenzione di incrementare e qualificare l'attività produttiva.
With the ambitions to keep moving forward with those pledges, in 1963 I chose to enter this sector in our company with the intentions of increasing the quality and quantity of our productions.
Negli anni '80 ho consolidato la base produttiva aziendale grazie a nuove acquisizioni di terreni che sono aggiunti alle prime 2 tenute, patrimonio storico della mia famiglia, raggiungendo la totale autosufficienza produttiva.
In the 80s, I consolidated the company's production thanks to the acquisitions of new parcels of land in which were added to the existing ones. A historical partnership with my family efficiencies to have a total control of the production line.
E questo per avere un totale controllo della filiera produttiva.
In essence, I wanted to have total control of production.
Nel tempo le tenute hanno raggiunto un'estensione di oltre 120 ettari tra vigneti e uliveti, che si articolano su 2 delle aree a grande vocazione e tradizione agricola della Calabria. Sono suddivise in 3 proprietà distinte tra loro per posizione e varietà delle uve coltivate.
Over time, the winery came to grow to over 120 hectares between vineyards and olive orchards, which form 2 great areas with the best part of the region of Calabria. These are divided in 3 properties, totally different from position and varietals.
La prima tenuta si chiama appunto Amato, tenuta Amato, è il nucleo produttivo principale dove ha sede la cantina. È un suggestivo complesso di oltre 80 ettari di terreno con un morbido andamento collinare ad un'altitudine che varia da 500 a 700 metri sul livello del mare.
The first Tenuta Amato is the nucleus, the headquarters, where our cellar is situated, a complex of more than 80 hectares of land, of sloped hills at the height of 500 to 700 meters above sea level, positioned between the Ionic and Tyrrhenian Sea at the narrowest part of Calabria, which offers a spectacular panoramic view of the 2 seas at the same time.
Posizionato tra il mare Tirreno e il mare Ionio, nel punto più stretto della Calabria, offre una vista davvero unica e spettacolare di 2 mari nello stesso momento.
At the same time, it's the narrowest place of Calabria, which is called Amato, and if you happen to walk out of the cellars, you could see both seas at the same time.
Al centro di questa tenuta sorge una stupenda villa di fine Ottocento con scuderie e chiesa padronale. La villa vanta 200 anni di storia, durante i quali ha ospitato personaggi illustri come la regina Margherita di Savoia e lo scrittore Giosuè Carducci.
At the center of this structure lies a villa of the 800s with horse stables and parochial church. The villa has 200 years of history in which has hosted historical people such as Queen Margherita of Savoia and the famous writer Giosuè Carducci.
La seconda tenuta si chiama Romeo, tenuta Romeo. Questo vigneto, situato in posizione collinare ed esposto ai venti del Mar Tirreno, ricade in area DOC Lamezia ed è interamente coltivata a greco bianco, unica varietà di greco in purezza DOC di tutta la regione Calabria. La tenuta comprende anche un oliveto di oltre 15 ettari con 3.500 piante di olive della varietà Carolea, da cui si produce l'olio extravergine DOC Lamezia.
Tenuta Romeo, this vineyard is situated on the small hills and exposed to the winds of Tyrrhenian Sea. It is situated in the DOC Lamezia and is cultivated strictly with Greco Bianco, the only pure indigenous varietal of 100% Greco in the Calabria region. The tenuta is also composed of 15 hectares with 3,500 Caroleo varietal olive trees, of which we produce our extra virgin olive oil.
La terza è la tenuta Caracciolo, che era l'azienda storica della famiglia, è il vigneto storico, ospita le antiche varietà autoctone utilizzate per la produzione della DOC Lamezia Rosso Riserva. Il vino nasce da un'attenta selezione delle uve e rappresenta l'espressione più fedele e autentica del terroir. La nostra azienda è l'unica a produrre questo straordinario vino in Calabria.
Tenuta Carraccio is the family historical vineyards, strictly used in the indigenous varietals of the production of DOC Lamezia Rosso Riserva appellation. The wine is made from selected grapes and represents the intense, authentic expression of the terroir. Our winery is the only one that produces this extraordinary wine in the world.
La cantina è un'opera a basso impatto ambientale, realizzato su 2 livelli in gran parte interrati. È attrezzata con quanto di più moderno esiste per dare il massimo risalto ad una viticoltura attenta, dalla ricezione delle uve alla vinificazione fino alla maturazione e affinamento in barrica.
The wine cellar is a self-sufficient structure that stands on 2 levels, for the most part underground, and is prepared with the highest modern technology facility to give the best vision to a perfect viticulture from the arrival of the grapes to the vinification and end up in barrel agings.
Nel pieno rispetto della natura, la cantina è totalmente autosufficiente per la produzione di energia elettrica, acqua e calore, e green winery.
To the total respect of nature, the winery is self-sufficient to the production of electric energy, water source, and heating, hence a green winery.
È stata progettata per garantire una gestione più delicata e rispettosa della vinificazione, grazie alla sua realizzazione su 2 livelli discendenti, per caduta naturale al piano più basso, dalla fase di vinificazione alle fasi di stoccaggio e affinamento.
It was built on 2 levels in order to give gravity instead of machinery to work. The wine cellar has a barrel room which was excavated in the natural rocks at a level 6 meters deep.
La cantina è composta anche di una barricaia scavata nella roccia naturale ad una profondità di 6 metri per assicurare le migliori condizioni naturali dell'affinamento dei nostri vini.
The excavation of the land itself was on pure rock, and like I said, it's 6 meters deep to assure the best natural conditions to age our wines.
I vini di maggior pregio vengono affinati in barrique di rovere francese, Allier, dove rimangono per 12 mesi.
Our prestigious red wines are aged in barrels of Allier French oak, which are aged for about 12 months.
E dopo questo periodo i vini vengono assemblati e imbottigliati per trascorrere un ulteriore periodo di affinamento di 6 mesi prima di essere immessi sul mercato.
After this period, the wines are blended and bottled for 6 months before release to the world market.
Tony, però dobbiamo fare una precisazione. Questa è una concorrenza sleale, perché non sapevamo di poter proiettare anche noi le immagini della nostra cantina, che era molto bella.
See, I wish we had the videos to show you the winery, because it is spectacular. It is something that I'm in the wine business for many years, and the winery itself is really spectacular because of the way it sits. I mean, it's once you go out the winery and you see both coasts and the slopes of the land itself, it's something very incredible to see. And the back of the winery, having the historical buildings behind it, and he takes pride in it. I take pride in it to represent his company in the United States. He's trying to, I guess, modify and keep up the buildings itself. And if any one of you take the trip to it, it's worthwhile, believe me.
Allora, per quanto riguarda il programma Export, la mia famiglia ha iniziato a esportare i propri vini negli anni 60 in Svizzera e in Canada.
My family has started to export wines in the 1960s in Switzerland and Canada.
Erano gli anni durante i quali l'emigrazione di massa aveva svuotato interi paesi della Calabria, specialmente nell'entroterra.
In the 1960s, there was a huge immigration of Calabrian people.
Migliaia di persone che spesso lasciavano le proprie famiglie per cercare la fortuna in un futuro migliore in Svizzera, in Canada, negli Stati Uniti o addirittura in Australia.
Thousands and thousands of families of the South in general, not only Calabria, moved to Australia, Canada, Switzerland, and United States in those years.
È proprio per questa ragione che in quegli anni esportare i propri vini era spesso frutto di conoscenze dirette di ristoratori, distributori, spesso di origine meridionale, per i quali il sentimento e il legame alla propria terra spesso prevalevano sulle rigide logiche di mercato. Per la verità, questo si verifica ancora oggi.
We used our family names, our friends that often opened up restaurants in the areas, in these countries, to promote our wines.
Negli anni '80 invece, avendo dato inizio ad un importante progetto di qualificazione delle produzioni che avrebbero dovuto privilegiare la qualità a discapito della quantità, è stato messo in atto un complesso progetto di marketing volto a fare conoscere i propri vini, espressione di un territorio da sempre fortemente vocato. Eventi vari, incoming, per fare conoscere i nostri territori, abbiamo potuto crescere le nostre conoscenze che ci hanno stimolato a produrre vini, espressione del territorio di provenienza, ma più moderni, eleganti, complessi, in grado di competere in un mercato ormai globalizzato.
The United States has been bombarded with wines from all over the world, and through our friends that, especially with ICE, our wines were exploited.
A tal fine, forte di una storia costruita in 4 generazioni, negli anni, con l'apporto anche di validi consulenti esterni, abbiamo creato una rete di importatori e distributori attraverso la quale attualmente la mia azienda è presente in 25 paesi, con l'umiltà e la consapevolezza che un obiettivo non è mai un punto di arrivo, ma è solo un punto intermedio.
At the end, the 4 generations over the years, with the support and the help, we have created the exportation through various distributors in over 25 countries.
I don't know about you, but I can use a glass of wine. And I know Marco's going to say a few words about his company, and I know he will not speak at length. He'll speak more when we get to the wines, but Marco has a very interesting concept, Scampanini. He attacks wine sales at the point of sale. So he's not a winery owner, but he works a relationship with winery owners to help them sell wines in the United States. So he goes out and he does tastings and he works with salespeople. He's at the point of attack, and it's a very dynamic business. And as a spin-off of that, he started to try to bring people to the different agriturismi of his producers. So he's involved in travel, he's involved in wine sales, he's part of the new generation. I think he gets it, and he has some really nice wines here. We've interacted a little bit with him on our TV show. So I asked Marco to speak a bit about his company, and then we'll get into the wines as soon as possible. I thank you all for what I'll call your gentilezza. All right, so we'll move things along. Thank you.
I hope it's going with the loop. Okay, it's going perfectly. How are you? Good? Ready to test the wine? Yes. Okay. You know, the last but not the least. Usually the last one is a very short time, but I try to be very brief. First of all, I'm a good representative of South of Italy, because I was born in Naples. My family moved to Catania when I was a kid, and my mom is from Calabria, so I had to do something for South. So this one is one of my main brands that I have in my portfolio, which is Firiato. Have you heard about Firiato before? Yeah. So Firiato now is one of the upcoming wineries in Sicily, together with historical wineries like Donna Fugata, Planeta, or Tasca Regaleali. I think it's one of the most interesting projects that we have in Sicily for the new model of winemaking. What Antonio was saying before, the heroic viniculture. So that's one that is very important in Sicily, because they produce, for me, the best passito, which is the Benrier. They call it Ben Rye here sometimes, but that's for me. So since I was a little kid, I was like an excitement when I was drinking this passito. Firiato is doing another passito, always from Zibibo, but is produced on Favignana Island, which is a small island in front of Trapani, where the family that owns Firiato is coming from. And that's it. That is Calamoni. So they have just 5 acres, so very small production. And what is interesting is the soil, because the soil basically is a fossil. So they have shells, corals, part of the sand, so it's very close to the seaside. So it's giving a specific minerality to this wine, which is sweet, but not that much. And sometimes people say that at the end, at the back of your palate, you have a little bit of salinity coming up. By the way, it was one of the wines that sponsored the wine dinner yesterday here at the Hilton. The other interesting vinification in Sicily, I think, is coming from the Etna volcano. So today, your second wine will be the Etna Bianco, so we're going to talk about it specifically after, but you have to imagine that the volcanic soil contains some minerals that you cannot find anywhere else. There is iron, zinc. You know that the zinc is an anti-aging property. I always say it's better to drink a bottle of Etna Bianco or Etna Rosso rather than taking a pill, you know? You have more fun and it's rejuvenating at the same time. And also the elevation is giving a very nice acidity, which is balancing the high minerality coming from the soil. After explanation about Etna, I always say that the indigenous grape, which is the Nerello Mascalese and Nerello Cappuccio for the red, and then they have the Carricante and a little bit of Catarratto, which is not indigenous from Etna, but is also produced on Etna. They try to reimplant in other locations with the volcanic soil, and they didn't grow. I think because they get depressed and they died, the vines, because they are spoiled from the location. So they're on the top of the volcano overlooking Taormina, looking at the top of the mountain, say, I don't want to be moved to any other place. I want to stay here and make the best wine from Etna. Firiato is one of the brands of the south that I represent. I give a little heads out on what I'm doing. So my company is called Italian Wine Group, and we work mostly on the sell-out. So what we do, we stay in the middle between the importing system and distribution system. Because sometimes even the producer from Italy, they think that when they sell the product to the importer, that's it. So the importer has to do everything. But sometimes it's not easy, because especially when the importer then is selling the product to a distributor in another state, we need to help the distribution. So we need to go out with a salesperson, we need to do education, wine tasting, wine dinners, and let the people know the product. Because maybe in New York they have a good knowledge of the Italian wines, but if you go, I have here my friends from Texas, they distribute my wines in Texas. So 90% of the place they know Pinot Grigio and Chianti, and then all the rest you need to give a very nice education and knowledge to the customer, but specifically to the salespersons. So doing like seminars, doing kick-off of the product, but also giving, I always suggest to the wineries, invest your budget in the street. I mean, giving incentive to salesperson that are the people that represent you every day selling your wine. Maybe we can come here and it's nice, we can come 3-4 times in a year, but if we don't create a consistency in the market, it's like we never came, because they're going to forget you in a couple of days, unless it's an already established winery that has already a very famous brand, but that's another story. As Tony was saying, in the last 3-4 years I was developing this other kind of business, which is the wine tours. And it was coming from the presentation that I was doing a wine dinner, talking about the land, talking about the beautiful environment. People were saying at the end, wow, when we can go there? Wow, when do you organize a trip to Sicily or to another region? And then I understood that this is a kind of crossing marketing operation, because then people become loyal to the brand when they come, and also is another revenue for the winery, because most of them, they have also the hospitality, like Firiato is a beautiful resort on the Etna Volcano, another one on the Trapani Hill area, and another one on the Favignana Island. So, and for the people that are coming, because they are in touch with me for other reasons, then when they got there, they taste the wine, they're coming back to the States, and they would like to buy the wine. So now it's becoming, for me, probably my core business, because cash flow speaking is much better than selling wine. So that's my story, and I'm very happy to be here for the second year. I have to tell you, last year I was in the middle of two ladies that were Jennifer, the one from Chicago, Autieri, and the other one from New York. Okay, but so that's why now we are three beautiful men, and I'm happy to be the last of the list. Thank you so much, and I will explain a little bit about the wine. Thank you.
Okay, Marco, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the information. I think we should get into the wines and taste the first wine, which is a Greco from Lamezia. And maybe Salvatore can explain the wine a little bit. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what to expect from it. And I'll stay up here just in case you have any questions. I'll repeat them to Salvatore. Maybe Marco can help with the translation. So
we have yes.
Okay.
Gabriele Massa.
Mr. Massa, will you speak about the wine, Mr. Massa? Or? Okay, very good.
Yes.
Nice meeting you. Nice surprise.
Yes.
Full of surprises today.
Yes. So thank you to be here, and I will invite you to try this lovely wine from Calabria that Don Salvatore Lente for you. And I invite you to fix the glass this way, just to do with you the three examinations to really enjoy this wine. First of all, the visual examination that we can put on the white napkin, or you have the towel white, you should be really better. So it's you see a light yellow, rich, The second thing that you have to do is the sniff test that we can do in this way after once and twice. So the blend is 100% Gregorio Bianco, that the Cellar Lento is unique to produce this kind of varieties. In Calabria there are such as more varieties of white, but this is the only one that the Cellar Lento make in a special way. So after we have to do the wine tasting, and we have to do the best thing that we love to do in this way. We have to pour in the mouth the wine, and after you have to push up on the palate with the tongue, and after remain 2 or 3 seconds, and after we drink it. Okay, let's do that all together. So it's a light taste, but it's smooth, soft. The taste is about some citrus type, such as grapefruit, lemon, and orange. And at the end, you feel the green apple, such as the green apple, such from the one of New Zealand apple. You know the green one. The taste is really, yes, it's full
Granny
of
Smith.
Yes, yes. The Granny Smith, yes, the Granny Smith. And the taste is really great and remain in the mouth and the palate for many seconds. And after that it's finished, this wine, you feel the citrus in the mouth. That wine should be really a great pairing with all our Mediterranean kitchen that we do, such as with the fish, fresh cheeses such as our mozzarella from Buffalo mozzarella. It should be really good paired with international dishes such as sushi, such as the fish, raw fish. Compliment to Mr. Lento that did this lovely, great white wine from Calabria region. Compliments.
What do you think? Well, after a long hiatus, the first wine's going to taste sensational, I think, right? Yeah, I think it's very good, very interesting, very good acidity, very fresh, very clean tasting, but complex, good minerality. Maybe not for everybody, but for someone who appreciates fine wines, I think they'll enjoy it. No comments on the wine at all? Yes, sir.
I tasted it as soon as it was poured. I also nosed it, and it took a half an hour for the nose really to come out.
Yeah.
The rest of the wine was there, but the nose took a while.
Yeah. Actually, that's one reason why we tried to pour them a little early, so that there would be enough time for it to show itself well. That's point well taken. Okay, we're back to Marco. We'll speak about the Etna. You can speak there if you want.
Yes,
and
yes.
You can speak up here.
If the microphone is working. Okay, so now we go to the Etna Bianco. So it's one of the two DOC from Etna. It's Etna Bianco and Etna Rosso. To be a DOC has to be at least 60% of Caricante. So Caricante is the real white wine indigenous grape. Then there is the Minella, which is a small one, and the Catarato. So as you can see, there is a very huge minerality coming from the soil, but also is well balanced by the acidity. Technically, it's not like a scientific formula, but higher is the elevation, usually higher is the acidity of the wine. And usually the minerality is a little bit lower, but in this case, because of the soil, you have also a very huge minerality. Some people say that in the Caricante, at the end, you have a little bit of taste of salt, which this one is blended with a little bit of Catarato and Minella, so you don't feel like, but maybe someone of you can feel this salty, tasty, typical of the Caricante. It's very interesting on the Etna because it's a kind of we call vine belt, because really the vine production is maybe above 1,500 feet and not over 4,000 feet. Because down below there are like most chestnut trees, and above is too high, and there is the lava stone, so it's impossible to grow vines. So most of the real estate in the winery on the Etna is almost gone. So there is not so much space to implant new. So who's there, or otherwise you need to buy new acres from other producers. It's aged for 6 months in French oak, and then it stays about other 6 months in the bottle before going out. So that's the Etna Bianco DOC.
Very nice. Wine, I don't know what your feelings are on the wine. You feel the yeastiness from contact with the lees. It's, I think, extremely well made. I think when you're in Sicily, you're impressed with the temperature difference, the climate difference from the rest of Sicily and then going up to Etna. You know, you can ski on Mount Etna. It's quite beautiful. It's very friendly. It erupts almost all the time, so it's quite beautiful. And I'm much more familiar with the reds than the whites. Etna Rosso, they call it the Burgundy of the Mediterranean. And they're very hot wines, and you can get them for $15, $20. You can get single vineyard wines for much, much more money. We'll be tasting a couple of collectibles later in the tasting, and you can get some Etnas that are really good collector's wines. Okay, any questions on the Etna at all? I'm really struck by the minerality. Very nice and complex. Okay, Antonio, again, you can speak from your chair or you can come up here.
Okay, I'll stay there. So we are tasting number 3 is Sur, our Grillo 100%, and we move so in the west part of Sicily, and it comes from our estate in Conte Sant'Elena. Grillo is becoming more and more popular in Sicily in the last 10 years. It was first used just to produce Marsala wine. Actually, it's not a very old variety. It's a variety that was done just at the beginning of the 20th century, and is actually the marriage, the crossbreeding between Catarratto and Zibibo. Today, we are growing more Grillo every year because it's becoming very popular all around the world for its crispness, its freshness, always nice acidity, as well in the dry and warm vintage that we can have in Sicily. It's a wine that we're supposed to drink in 3-4 years, but for sure it's something that we can enjoy by itself, because even if it's crispy and fruity and it's not sweet at all, there's no sugar, residual sugar in this wine, it seems to be very soft always. That's really the character of the Grillo. You can make something that is a little bit more rich in alcohol, a little bit more warm, but it's going to be always very fresh.
Yeah, I think Grillo is a very versatile grape variety. I did want to point out that Sicily is one of the only regions where people drink more white than red. And they're not really big wine drinkers in comparison to some of the other regions of Italy. But excellent wines, a lot of them are white, very good. And of course, Marsala is sometimes figured into the figures of white wine. But they drink about 70% of white and 30% of reds. Okay, and I usually refer to Italy as a mountain range in the sea, and then there are 2 continents, continent of Sicily and the continent of Sardinia, because they're very different east to west in Sicily, and Sardinia north to south. Grapes grow differently. There are different grapes in different areas. The dominant red grape in Sicily, Takish used to call it the Baron of red grapes, is the Nero d'Avola. But when you get to Etna and you do the reds, it's more Nerello Mascalese, Nerello Cappuccio. So, you know, it varies. It's like a continent. It's a big geographic area, and wonderful cultures in all of these places too. We haven't really spoken at all about the culture of southern Italy, but it's just magnificent. Okay, well, let's go red. Victor Hazan used to say the color of wine is red. Before we leave the whites, any comments? Yes?
The name Sir, I mean, in Spanish, Sir means south.
Is a cricket in Arab language, yeah.
But if you purposely choose that because it's also Spanish or south, or?
No, because no, we were looking into cricket in another language, and because Sicily was for more than 300 years under the Arab domination, we talked about the synonym in the other one.
A subliminal genius of the name, yeah. And grillo in Italian means a cricket. Yeah, so I don't know why, with the connection. Do crickets like grillo wine, or?
They love.
Yeah.
Thanks God they are not eating too much anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're back to Marco to speak about the Primitivo. We're going red. Okay.
Yes, we are going red. We are going to Puglia. So that's I think the only representative of Puglia. So probably okay, you are pretty familiar with Primitivo, even because they said that it's the same DNA of the Zinfandel, which I'm not like so proud of it. No, I'm not because of the Zinfandel, but because I think that the Primitivo is a completely different taste. And
Luigi here?
no, Luigi is not here, and there is Ivan, but is in another location. So I'm also representing. You know Luigi, yeah? I know since a long time. So Rubino is one of the most important family-owned winery in Puglia that is developing now pretty fast, and they are in the Brindisi area, which is in the north part of the Salento. So the Primitivo is a producer between Brindisi, Lecce and Taranto. So the one on the Taranto coast is more the Primitivo di Manduria DOC, and then this one is the Primitivo del Salento IGT. So Punta Aquila, which is the name of the label, because it's a cape, little cape in Puglia, where most of these vines are cultivated. So it's very nice, it's by the sea. And by the way, Salento is a very flat, so it's completely different environment from Sicily, and during the summer it's very warm. So the vine and they are exposed to the sun for many hours, and the grape are ripening on the vine pretty fast. So that's why the harvest has to be not over than the first day of September. Otherwise, it's become too concentrated. So you can taste the Primitivo. The tasting notes of the Primitivo reminds me a little bit of dry fruit, the prune, like dry prune. But I'm not the kind of guy who's going to tell you what to taste in your mouth, so I prefer to tell you about the history of the family and probably the history of the land where this wine is produced.
I think it's a very nice first wine, red wine to have. Lots of good essences of dark fruit, right? And it's called Primitivo because it's one of the earliest grapes harvested, which again Marcos spoke about very beautifully. Okay, I think it's a mistake really to talk a lot about Zinfandel and Primitivo because they grow differently in different climates. There is definitely the DNA connection. It looks like Primitivo came to Italy from Croatia, but at any rate, I think this Primitivo to a Zinfandel drinker may find it lean. A white Zinfandel drinker might be confused, you know, but I think it's very good and good value. And you can find a lot of good value Primitivos in the marketplace. Okay, continuing in red.
Me again. Okay, so the next red, we are coming back to Sicily, and that's a very interesting grape varietal, which is the Pericone, because Pericone is a part of the indigenous grape varietal that Antonio was telling before that was extinct for a certain part of the time. So I think that for about 10-15 years there wasn't produced any Pericone, maybe in the 80s, something like that, very small. And the origin of the Pericone, tell me if I'm wrong, is from Monreale, no? That's the area, yeah, in the Monreale Valley, and that's why they call some way there was the wine of the monk, because they think that like in the monastery of Monreale, the monks for their refectory they were cultivating Pericone vines in the backyard. That's why they were, because of them that it was recovered after the extinction. So Pericone is a very intense. They call, even if I'm not agree, but they call the Amarone of Sicily. And there is not a big production anyhow, so I think that Antonio, how many hectares of Pericone? We have like 150 total in Sicily.
Yeah, you're right.
So something like that. So it's very rare.
We are doing a lot of research to find really the best biotype of Pericone, and we've been pretty successful. And Filiato got quite a lot of different biotype and working as well on it. So you will drink more Pericone in the future and better quality as well.
Thank you, thank you. So the aging process is 12 months in a French oak, small barrel, 225 liters, and then 1 year in the bottle for finding the aging. So we recently had very nice reviews on this wine, and Robert Parker and Wine Spectator, they are really start evaluating very well this wine. So I think it's, for me, when I do the presentation, when I introduce the wines from Filiato, I always say that the Rebecca Pericone is my favorite.
Yeah, it's a wonderful wine. It's the first time I've tasted 100% Pericone, which again is identical to the Pignatello grape variety from northern Italy, but it's not grown widespread, either of the two. At Regaleali, we used to blend in some Pericone with the red wines, largely for aromatic quality, for fragrance quality, and I think you can see that. This is really a lovely wine, and the 2011 is holding very well. You know, I mean, we have jewels here. We have some zircons, we have some other things. We're going to get to some diamonds now as we go forward, emeralds and diamonds, etc. But Pericone is a big surprise for me. I thought it was really wonderful. Any feelings? Any comments at all? Okay, we're not talking a lot about food, but I would like Pericone with pork-based dishes, with white meats. What do you think? Am I off base? Or pretty much off base all the time.
With the stinco, you know stinco?
Stinco di maiale. Stinco is the shin. It's almost, you know, it's like a stew. Yeah, I think that would go very well. If you throw a little bit in the sauce, a little Pericone in the sauce will probably help too. You know, any wine that you drink when you're cooking, if you're drinking wine while you're cooking, it doesn't count as calories. Okay, I think we're back to Calabria now. Will you be gracing us with a description? And I think you have 2 wines in a row.
Yes.
And these are extremely interesting wines. So,
First of all, I want that you have to change the glasses because I want to enjoy first the Lamezia Rosso Riserva and then the Magliocco that is a red wine more complex. So we can change the number from 7 to 6 and 6 to 7, okay?
they're easily identifiable because of color. The Lamezia is paler in color, which again is no indication that it's going to be a weak wine, yes. Which you all know. You all know that Etna has a light color too. So you can easily distinguish between the two.
Yes, just to be in easy way more professional, we try first the Lamezia Riserva. So it's made from 3 kinds of grapes, Magliocco, Grego Nero, and Nerello, straight from Calabria. They have a medium mixture with the united tendency, fine and bitter texture. The exposure of the vineyards are south, 100 above the sea level. It's the best kind of grapes, Magliocco grapes, Grego Nerello, that are picked up in the winery. First of all, I want to speak about this wine. This is the only red wine that was chosen from our Pope Francesco when he comes in New York. On the flight, he drinks this wine. So for us, it's really a nice, very nice. We were very proud about that. So let's go to do the visual examination. That's a fine, bright red ruby. And then the sniff test in this way. Yes. I feel some spicy too. Some vanilla and cinnamon, and toast tobacco and cocoa.
Very good. I don't know if you agree. It's just a wonderful,
I agree.
complex,
Yeah.
and a unique kind of wine in comparison to what you usually think is Italian.
Yes. It's really good to do. Let's do the things that we love to do, taste it. In the same way that I told before. Drink it and after push the tongue up under the palate and after remain for 2-3 seconds in the mouth and after you drink it, okay? Let's do that. Now all the things that we find in the visual examination we can find in the mouth now. But more that you feel, such as cherries under the alcohol, the bitter cherries, the mulberry, and at the final it's the acidity that is the life of a red wine, and the tannins are well balanced, you see? It's really smooth, soft, and it's really a pleasure to drink this wine. The pairing that we can do with this wine should be really a steak on charcoal grill. It's the best pair that we can do because the flower of the cherries put away the taste of the burnt of the meat. You know what I mean? Because it's really bitter, the taste when the meat is cooked. So with the cherries flower in the mouth, we put away this not nice taste. That's really a great wine, and it's the only one from the appellation Lamezia Terme, the Lamezia appellation DOC that the winery Lento owns from many years. It's the unique cellar that do this appellation. They do the reserve. That's a reserve. So it's the best, one of the 3 best wines that Salvatore Lento produced in his winery. The other ones are the Majocco that we are going to taste, and there is another wine that is called Federico II. Ci vuoi dire perché Federico II? Now I explain. Yes. Oh, because the name of the nephew is Federico too. That's why the name of the wine. It's made from Cabernet Sauvignon, but we don't have it on the taste.
It's 100% Cabernet Sauvignon?
Cabernet Sauvignon, yes. It's located in Calabria. Yes. So let's go to...
I just have a question. For a Riserva, how long must it be aged at the wine?
12 months in the wood barrel and after 6 months in the bottle before it's ready to sell it.
Okay, and that's what the Reserve is.
Yeah.
And what we call the durata of this wine, the ageability of the wine.
Yes, I mean from 7 to 10 years. Yes, it's a long shelf life.
Okay.
It's aged in the wood barrel from Allier Forest, from in French Hook, and after it's put in the bottle for another 6 months before they sell the wine. So it's really a great red wine. So we have to go to try the second one that comes always from Calabria. And I want to speak, that's a wine made from grapes of one of the oldest Mediterranean varieties. It's called Majocco. The vineyards are overlooking two seas, so Calabria, that before Tony Fulano, the importer, already said to you, because on the left we can find the Tirreno Sea, and on the right we can find the Ionio Sea. These kinds of part of where from the vineyard, they come from the vineyards, means that they have a lot of minerals from the sea from the seaweed. They are a lot of exposed to the seaweed. So we have two seeds that comes in the vineyards. So we will find on the grapes, and after when we produce the wine, in the wines that we have. The quality of the harvested crops brought by the winery was one of the very high quality, and I think this wine should be really, really a great red wine. More complex than the first one, and when we have to do the examination of this wine, we can use another kind of sense, that is the auditorium sense. When we pour the wine in the glass, generally we don't use this sense. But when you pour the wine in the glass, and there is, like here in this room, some silence, you feel the complexity of the wines when you pour the wine inside. It's things that nobody do, but sometimes you have to try with this complex wine. And you find the difference. When you pour a light body wine, you hear something different from a complex one. That's the one that I want to say.
Interesting point. I guess a little more unctuous, and
yes.
you feel it when you pour it, you hear it.
Yes, this wine is always aged in the wood barrel from French woods, from Allier forest. It's a medium forest that come from France that make the best wood to be aged this wine. It's a very intensive garnet, red color, really dark red color. It's if you put the hand like this on the glass, you cannot see the hand. So it's clear but not transparent. When happens that, you can say that it's really a complex wine, and the dry extract from this wine is really, really high. Now let's do the sniff test that we love to do in this way. 1 second sniff. That you feel a lot of spice here. I feel, no, not this, but to sniff some cinnamon, licorice, and it's that after we will find it in the taste when we taste. Let's do the taste that should be really a great complex red wine, full body red wine. Really a great full body red. On the palate, the wine is well structured, well balanced, the acidity too. And the tannins are well balanced too. So now we are drinking this wine without eating nothing, but you feel how the pleasure is to drink this wine. It's really high. This wine should be paired with a very complex plate such as the brasato. Yeah, we can do the brasato. Sometimes we can do the brasato with this wine instead of to do always with Barolo or Brunello di Montalcino. But this wine, you can do the brasato with Majocco. We can do a Majocco brasato. You know what I mean? It's really, really a great thing.
Like
to
a braised meat, instead of using Barolo, use
Yes.
Majocco in the cooking
Yes.
process, and then drink the Majocco with it.
Generally, you use to cook a youngest harvest, and after to drink this harvest. Maybe in another occupation.
Yeah, maybe have an older wine and a
Yes.
younger wine, two different vintages of the same
Yes.
wine.
The tannins are really, really well balanced, and when you feel them out, the acidity of this wine. So I just want to say to you that when you feel the acidity in a red wine, it's to together with the tannins, this one should be aged for many years. I think this one should be from 7 to 10 to 15 years. So they have a long self-life. The pairings that we can do with that after that, I say the braise should be the meat cooked in a long way, such as the spezzatino, ragu, all with tomato sauce too, all complex, very complex sauces, such as the ragu from wild too, such as the duck, such as the wild pork. Should be really good paired with the charcoal meat grills, something like a sirloin steak, which is like a really heavy food, because the wines is very complex. So to be paired with the
Thank you, and complimenti. I pick up a lot of licorice in that wine. And it makes me think of the Amarelli company in Calabria, been making licorice for 300 years.
Yes.
Can you imagine? We're in the licorice business for 300 years.
Yes.
So,
And why do we feel the licorice too?
yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to do actually is cover a couple of things fast, like who's the guy in the football thing that has a 2-minute drill or something like that, because there are several areas in the South that we didn't cover. I'd like to say at least a little something about those areas. Sardinia, for example, has done a wonderful job of cutting their production and increasing their quality. And some of the best Vermentino, white is a DOCG zone up in Gallura in the north. It's just wonderful. They have unique wines with their own grapes. Vermentino is sort of a Mediterranean grape variety, but they do very well with Canonal, which is Grenache, and you see the French influence, the influence of southern France also, because they also work with Carignan. But they're not a big producer. Puglia and Sicily are very big producers. They were always numbers 1 and 2. Puglia 1, Sicily 2. It's changed somewhat. The monsters from the Veneto have taken over. They always seem to have a really hot wine. You know, it went from Soave and the Valpolicella in the old days to Pinot Grigio for many years, and that continues. And now Prosecco. So the Veneto is doing extremely well. I should tell you that the South produces more wine than Argentina or Germany or South Africa or Chile or Australia. So by itself, the South produces a great quantity of wine, and you can see very interesting wines as well. Okay, Basilicata drinks much more red than white, and the production is really skewed toward the Aglianico grape, which is again ancient Greek grape variety. Through the centuries, the name changed from Hellenico to Aglianico with Spanish influence on the language. But this is a collectible wine from the South. I hope in the next few years that maybe they apply for a DOCG and start to bottle the wine in the zone of production. Because there is some Aglianico del Volturre grown on the slopes beneath Mount Volturre. I don't encourage you to go to the top of Mount Volturre. I tried with Donato D'Angelo years ago. There's a NATO base up there. They listen in to the conversations of Eastern Europe. So there was snow actually up toward the top. It wasn't really at the top, but toward the top, and they just shushed us down the hill. That was the end of our excursion to Mount Volturre. But the wines are extremely good. Again, volcanic soil. Look at the energy that we're talking about here. Lamezia Terme, the hot baths. So all this subterranean energy, this is one of the things makes Italy great. The soil, the energy. Okay, Campania. Campania has some of the most interesting whites possible. Greco di Tufo, Fiano di Avellino. If you go to a restaurant in Milano, go to a restaurant in Venice, you will find these wines on the wine list. And then again, Taurasi, Lacrima Christi. Lacrima Christi used to be produced anywhere, but families in the zone said the mythology is about Mount Vesuvius. So Lacrima Christi has to come from this specific area. So there have been these kinds of changes going on. And one of my favorites, whites, is a Falangina, because you find Falangina in almost every province. Wine is a local thing. It's not a regional thing. It's not a provincial thing. It's something that changes from hillside to hillside. So that's 2 minutes on everything. And we're about to taste a couple of real jewels. And and complimenti to Salvatore. Those wines are wonderful. It's, you know, it's very unfair. It's very difficult to find wines of Calabria in wine shops. Very difficult. I have friends that ask me, can you find me a Chiro? Can you find me? They have all these famous wines and they're hard to find. And someone told me only Calabrians are interested in Calabrian wines. That's a bunch of baloney. That, you know, the wines are very good and they have appeal. They're distinctive wines. So without further ado, we'll go to two of my favorite wines, the last two. Thank you. Antonio?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I really want to know, to let you know that if we are making every year a better wine, it's thanks to Professor Attilio Scienza, that is down there, that is leading the project on the research of Sicilian varieties since a long time, and give us the chance to plant better quality of Catarratto, Nero d'Avola, Pernicone, and all the Sicilian varieties every year. And as a matter of fact, we had a lot of really important efforts from Giacomo Taghis in Sicily. He worked with us in Donna Fugata. He worked for the institution as well in the past, and it's really thanks to him that today we really got the Milanotte. First vintage I made with Giacomo Taghis in 1995, and we worked together with Giacomo Taghis until 99. Then he becomes to retire, and it's thanks to him that we got fantastic wine in Sardinia. You were talking about Turriga, we rediscovered the Bovale, we rediscovered Camanao, we rediscovered Nero d'Avola, we introduced some international great variety in Sicily, we got the best Bolgheri wines, and he's a very great man, and we will ever remember him. Milanotte 2010 is a blend of Nero d'Avola. It's the most famous popular red grape variety in Sicily, together with a little bit of Syrah and Petit Verdot. We've been introducing some other grapes, trying to make it better and better every year. 2010 actually is a pretty difficult vintage in Sicily. We had quite a lot of rain at the end of September, so it's not really good for the best vineyards, but thanks to the fact that we are selecting by doing hand harvest, and as well we're selecting the grape before we crush, and the single berries because we put in the tank. Before we put in the tank, we had the chance to produce not too much wine, but probably one of the best vintage of the Milanotte. It's a wine that we can drink today. It's pretty soft, but we can enjoy after 15-20 years for sure.
That's wonderful, wonderful. But by the way, this is a collectible wine, and again, I think a genuine jewel. And if you look at it, if it were from Tuscany, if it were from Piemonte, or if it were from France or another country, it would be far more expensive. And great wine is great wine, and I think to be able to buy this at the price that's listed on the program is pretty wonderful. And knowing from the winery owner that it will develop in the bottle for 10, maybe 20 years, that's good. I don't have a 20-year plan, by the way. Any questions, comments on the wines? I love everything about it. I love the wine, I love the label. It's just, label is the clothing, you know, of the wine, and I think it's very suitable to the wine. It's one of my favorite collectible wines from Sicily, along with Duca Enrico from the Corvo people, and with Rosso del Conte from Regaliale. Yes, Signora, I have a question for
I
you.
have a question on alcohol. What is the alcohol on the wine?
That is 13.5. So we usually can stay below 14, but then it depends on the vintage.
I think also you should take note that Nero d'Avola is a wonderful grape by itself, and there are a lot of really good Nero d'Avola blends, blended with Cabernet, Syrah, Petit Verdot, as Mr. Lalo mentioned. Some of them with Cabernet are just wonderful. Nero d'Avola can stand up to Cabernet. You can't put too much Cabernet Sauvignon in a blend. My friend Philip de Bellardino used to say, when you put Cabernet into a blend, it's like when your mother-in-law moves into the house. She has a little room in the corner, and in a few days she takes the whole house over. You know, so Cabernet's pretty dominant grape. I think he got that from Mary Mulligan, by the way. But we steal from each other, you know. But Philip was quite a proponent of Italian wines. Let's talk about the Passito di Pantelleria.
So we move on the small little island of Pantelleria. It's a completely different terroir. So we got the clay for the Melanote. We got the volcanic sand for the Perrier. It's not far away because it's about 80 miles from Contessentellina, but the climate is pretty different. It's much more dry. We got 30% less rain in Pantelleria, and it's very windy. The wind helped us a lot, of course, in growing the Zibibo, in drying the Zibibo. Actually, to make a full bottle of Perrier, you need 4 kilos grape, so you got a lot of concentration, because we are using dry grape, quite a lot of dry grape. It's a pretty different process. Probably those of you who are familiar with Amarone can easily understand. So we are producing some fresh malt, and we are producing some dry grapes. So what we are doing is we are starting fermentation and adding the dry grape into the fresh malt, so that we can extract all the new flavor of the dry grape and all of the sugar and the acidity. During the drying process, that takes from 80 days to 1 month, is done outside, sunshine and wind. You got completely new aromas. The aroma of the Zibibo is the aroma of the Moscato, of a fresh Moscato. The aroma of the dry grape is completely different. It remembers me apricot, just because I'm really in love with apricot. I used to make my own jam every year. I still remember it. It's a wine that we can enjoy today, or we can enjoy after 20 years. Last year we done a fantastic vertical tasting starting from 89. That was the first vintage of Perrier, and we really enjoy all the old vintage as well as the new. The wine is evolving, so you got much more apricot, peach, citrus peel in the younger wine, and you go more into the dry figs when the wine gets older. So a lot of grape for a small little bottle, or the full bottle, that makes something really concentrated and powerful. It's a dessert itself, or you can match with some nice chocolate if you like, to any kind of fruit pie, cheese, I love with cheese, foie gras, whatever.
Okay. What are your thoughts on what does Benrier mean? Benrier.
The son of the wind. Pantelleria, the island of the wind, and this is the little child of the island.
Yeah. I think this wine will hold up forever, by the way. It's really lovely. I pick up a lot of essences of liqueurs like Grand Marnier, for example, orange peel. Okay, anybody have any questions? All right, I would really like to thank the 3 members of the panel. Complimenti to all of you. shop, whether it's online or in a wine shop, or you go to a restaurant, look for the wines of southern Italy. I think you'll find that there are hidden jewels on wine lists and in the wine shops. And I want to thank you for your attention, for your patience, and look forward to seeing you somewhere else again, having a glass of wine together.